And welcome back to Learning from Leaders. This is part two of this show. And as many of you are probably watching this either on the internet or you may be watching it on TV in the DFW area, and I congratulate you for that. But I want you to really pay attention to this and see how you can find out your passion and develop and attach purpose to that. And how many of us can actually move on to allowing that passion with purpose to become our profession. Because wouldn't you like to be in the situation where every day you get up early, energetically, enjoying the fact that you're going to do what you love to do today? I mean, more than you ever thought possible. Wouldn't you want to do that? If you had the opportunity to find out the one gift that could make the most amazing difference in your life, because it's that one area that when you're operating in it, you can't get tired. I mean, you can do it all day, every day, and not have a problem doing it again and again and again because you love it. Wouldn't that be the end of work? Well, it would, wouldn't it? Well, that's what we're talking about. Now, in part one, we talked about I gave you a little quiz, a little test of an assessment. And all you had to do was pick one of 7 spots that you would say, yeah, I tend to do that more than others. Well, in this part, we're going to talk about the characteristics of each of those and how you can really use those, how you can begin to use those. Okay? So in the last part, we talked about if you tended to be a person that felt other people's pain. Okay? In the last part, what we call that was, you tended to respond more to how people feel. Well, in this one, what I'll do is I'll just say, if you find that you wrote down number 1, then I want you to listen to some of these characteristics. That you always find the good in people. That you tend to attract people who are hurting. You're more concerned about how people's emotional distress, if you want to call it that. And then love to do thoughtful things and tend to be indecisive. If you had a hard time picking one, that probably means you. Now, here's what that really manifests in. When you look at number 1, your biggest heart condition is mercy. Your gift is mercy. Now, how does that show up? Well, you tend to be one of these people that when you walk into a room, you feel other people's pain. You're very quick to adjust to someone's emotional condition. In fact, what's very difficult is if you're around hurting people, you're hurting. If you're around very excited people, you tend to get excited because you're like this big receiver of the emotional, and I have to use the word energy there, that other people have. That's okay. One of the things that a lot of people don't realize is how powerful that gift is. If you ever watch The Green Mile, for those of you that have seen it, you know what I'm going to talk about. This guy that was one of the main characters, Tom Hanks, and this other very large inmate, was a guy on death row, had the gift of being able to take into himself other people's pain or hurt or even illness, and then he would let it out. If he didn't let it out, he got sick. And that's a key component for a mercy. If they don't release other people's pain, they tend to get sick or heavy or all kinds of things. They just tend to have dysfunctions that show up in their life because all they can focus on is the pain of other people. But when you realize that you have the ability to walk into somebody's life, hold their heart in your hand and love it, and then hand it back to them, whole, healthy, strong, in a way that's emotionally satisfying to them. They literally feel encouraged. Well, that's a massive gift, but you just need to learn how to let it go. If your initials were in number, or you'd chosen number 2, let's go on to the next one. Number 2 is teaching. For those of you that are teachers, you tend to present the truth in a logical way. You love to study and do research. You tend to neglect the practical applications of truth, and I'll explain that in a minute. and then is easily sidetracked by new and new interests. I mean, the new shiny object, so to speak, and then tends to be controlled emotionally and often has a select circle of friends. Now, here's what it really means for the teachers out there. We can talk longer than most people can listen. Okay, you'll get that. The point is that, yeah, we have this longing for learning that shows up in the fact that most teachers tend to have 6 books going at once. This is not talking about the profession of teaching. I've given this test as literally an in-service for schools over in the Fort Worth area, and I found that people were across the board, teachers that were all of the different components that we're looking at. But teachers tend to learn a lot. They love to learn. And what's funny is that we don't always do what we know to do. See, I know what the best workout equipment in the world is. I do. I'll share with you. If you want to know the best workout equipment in the world, it's the stuff you use. I mean, think about it. I'm so glad that our elliptical has pointy things at the top like this, where for you to hold on to, and they hold the coat better. So the point is that you've got to realize that you got to do what you know to do. But teachers they have the ability to listen to what someone's saying or the way that people are saying it, and then convert it in a way that makes sense to them. Moving on, if you were in the number 3 spot, serving. Now, here's what's funny about servers. They easily recognize practical needs. They really tend to have a hard time saying no. They tend to be a perfectionist. They tend to be the kind of person that you love to invite to your party. Why? Because they'll show up early, stay late, and help with the dishes. The one thing that's very difficult for the servers, though, is that they need to hear 2 words. You know what those 2 words are? Thank you. Thank you is oxygen to the server, because they just anonymously do stuff. They just take care of the little things. They're the ones that actually notice that there's underwear on the floor. Okay? So say thank you to the server, and they'll tend to strengthen, and they feel appreciated, and they'll do more for you. Okay? And if you're a server, demand it. Tell your manager that you really need to hear those 2 words. He'll appreciate it because he wants to know what will help you get your job done easier and better. And moving on, number 4, giving. Giving. Well, actually, very few people have ever ended up in that spot. It doesn't really surprise me because givers tend to be very rare. Only 4% of them fund the whole church worldwide. And but here's the thing: givers tend to give their money more often, but they're also an attractive force. They have the ability to attract whatever's needed. If it's money that's needed, they'll find it. If it's toys that are needed, they'll get them. They tend to have no problem helping other people see the light that they need to contribute. One of the best stories of a giver that I've ever seen was a lady named Kathy, when I used to work in what I call Dilbertville, which is professional, cubicles, everybody, very whatever. The point is that Kathy had this ability to walk up to all the sales guys that I worked with, and she'd say, "Hey, it's Bob's birthday next Tuesday," and she'd hold her hand out and say $2, and just look at it. I sat there and I'd be pulling $2 out of my pocket and giving it to her. Didn't even know why. I didn't even care for Bob, but she got it. She pulled it out of me. After the break, we're going to talk about the rest of these gifts and how you can begin to use them to make more money in your business and to do more fun things in your life. Thanks so much. We'll be right back.